Live from New Delhi, you're watching DD India Live, India's voice to the world. I'm Abhishek Mahajan, coming up in the next 30 minutes. United Nations welcome Trump's Gaza peace plan, says stand ready to increase aid. Plan receives rousing response from world leaders, including Prime Minister Modi. US government heads toward first federal shutdown in 6 years as lawmakers fail to reach agreement so far. And Russia warns of escalation risk if US sends Tomahawk missiles to Ukraine. Foreign Minister Lavrov says talks driven by European pressure. US President Donald Trump has unveiled a new peace initiative aimed at ending the ongoing conflict in Gaza. The proposal outlines a multi-step approach, including an immediate ceasefire, the release of hostages, and a phased withdrawal of Israeli forces. Backed by international partners, the plan seeks to stabilize Gaza and pave the way for long-term security and reconstruction. However, the absence of a formal response from Hamas, who claims not to have received the plan, has raised concerns about its viability and the prospects for meaningful engagement.
Thank you very much.
US President Donald Trump and Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu have agreed a new peace plan for Gaza, warning Hamas to accept it. The plan proposes an immediate end to military operations, with Hamas releasing 20 living Israeli hostages and the remains of more than 24 dead hostages within 72 hours in exchange for hundreds of detained Palestinians. The White House peace plan for Gaza excludes Hamas from any future governing role and leaves the door open for an eventual Palestinian state. Hamas is yet to comment in depth, saying the group is yet to receive the plan. Speaking at a joint press conference, Trump said that Netanyahu had agreed to back the Gaza peace proposal. Trump said they were beyond very close to forging an elusive peace deal that he hoped Hamas militants would accept.
Today is a historic day for peace, and Prime Minister Netanyahu and I have just concluded an important meeting on many vital issues, including Iran, trade, the expansion of the Abraham Accords, and most importantly, we discussed how to end the war in Gaza, but it's just a part of the bigger picture, which is peace in the Middle East, and let's call it eternal peace in the Middle East. I also want to thank Prime Minister Netanyahu for agreeing to the plan and for trusting that if we work together, we can bring an end to the death and destruction that we've seen for so many years, decades, even centuries, and begin a new chapter of security, peace, and prosperity for the entire region.
Netanyahu endorsed Trump's proposal to end the conflict in Gaza, describing it as a critical step towards peace in the Middle East. Netanyahu warned that if Hamas rejected the plan, Israel would act independently to achieve its goals.
I believe that today we're taking a critical step towards both ending the war in Gaza and setting the stage for dramatically advancing peace in the Middle East. And I think beyond the Middle East, in very important Muslim countries. I support your plan to end the war in Gaza, which achieves our war aims. It will bring back to Israel all our hostages, dismantle Hamas's military capabilities, end its political rule, and ensure that Gaza never again poses a threat to Israel.
In a joint statement, the foreign ministers of the United Arab Emirates, Saudi Arabia, Qatar, Egypt, Jordan, Turkey, Indonesia, and Pakistan welcomed the efforts to end the conflict in Gaza. France, UK, Italy, and Germany have wholeheartedly endorsed the peace plan. The announcement of the plan comes just days after Netanyahu attacked the recognition of a Palestinian state by multiple Western countries during a combative speech at the UNGA. Dozens of officials and diplomats staged a walkout as he took to the UN podium. The US framework is supposed to shift the momentum back to the negotiating table, but it will still likely require many weeks or longer of painstaking work to develop it into anything close to what Donald Trump says it can deliver, which is a full end to the conflict. Anamika Pandey's report for DD India.
And the United Nations has welcomed all the mediation efforts and stands ready to provide humanitarian aid in Gaza after US President Donald Trump secured Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu's backing on Monday for a US-sponsored peace proposal.
We are also continuing to be in touch with the parties, with the various parties about the peace efforts. Indeed, we welcome all the mediation efforts, and of course, we stand ready to support any peace plan with everything we can do, including the provision of humanitarian assistance.
And Prime Minister Narendra Modi has welcomed President Donald Trump's announcement of a comprehensive plan to end the Gaza conflict. On micro-blogging site X, PM Modi said, and I quote him here, "It provides a viable pathway to long-term and sustainable peace, security and development for the Palestinian and Israeli people, as also for the larger West Asian region. We hope that all concerned will come together behind President Trump's initiative and support this effort to end conflict and secure peace," unquote. Israel's ambassador to India, Reuven Azar, said on Tuesday that India has a significant role to play in Israel's development. He also praised Prime Minister Modi for welcoming the peace plan proposed by US President Donald Trump to address the Gaza crisis. Take a listen.
We are very encouraged by the Indian position because I think we share the same values of rejecting terrorism, fighting radicalism, de-radicalizing, building a better future for the people through development, through empowerment of forces that are committed to peace. So all of that, I think, is something that we share. And India can also contribute a lot because you have capabilities. You know, only 2 or 3 weeks ago, we had here a huge delegation from Israel that invited Indian infrastructure companies to come and build Israel. We're going to issue tenders for more than $200 billion in the next 10 years. And also Gaza will require a lot of capabilities, and I hope that India can play a part of it.
Now, Qatar said it was set to hold talks with Hamas negotiators and Turkey on Tuesday to discuss US President Donald Trump's Gaza plan, with the Foreign Ministry spokesman Majid Al-Ansari saying Hamas would study it responsibly.
The negotiating delegation promised to study it responsibly, which is what is happening now. Even today, there will be another meeting with the presence of Turkish side as well as the negotiating delegation. All of this is aimed at consulting on this plan and pushing, as we said, towards an end to this war through this plan.
Now, Kremlin on Tuesday said it supported US President Donald Trump's 20-point plan to end the war in Gaza. Kremlin spokesman Dmitry Peskov said it hoped President Trump's Gaza peace plan was implemented and would spur peace in the Middle East.
We do want this plan to be implemented, and we hope it will help steer events in the Middle East towards peace. If you're asking whether the Russian Federation is participating in this plan, no, it is not. There have been no signals from the Americans about it. We maintain our contacts with all the sides of the conflict.
Now, Russian Foreign Minister Sergei Lavrov said on Tuesday that Moscow did not believe that Washington had taken a final decision on supplying Tomahawk cruise missiles to Ukraine. Lavrov said that US talk about the matter looked like it was the result of pressure from Europe and that Washington wanted to show it was taking its allies' opinions into account.
I believe this is primarily the result of European pressure on Washington, and Washington wants to show that it is taking its allies' views into account. I do not think we are dealing with a final decision yet. The US does not supply Tomahawk to just anyone. Among the European countries, if I am not mistaken, only Spain and the Netherlands have received them. They are being somehow cautious about the rest, and if they consider Ukraine a responsible state that will use them responsibly, that would be surprising to me.
Ответственно пользоваться, то...
US Vice President J.D. Vance said on Sunday that Washington was considering a Ukrainian request for Tomahawks. Russia said on Monday that its military was analyzing whether the United States would supply Tomahawks to Ukraine for strikes deep into Russia. Moving on, federal shutdown looms in the US after Trump's talks with Democrats failed to yield any breakthrough on Monday. US President Donald Trump met with top Democratic and Republican congressional leaders in a last-ditch effort to prevent a shutdown before an October 1st deadline. The two sides left no closure to resolving Democrats' demands to extend health care subsidies and reverse Medicaid funding cuts, including in Trump's signature tax legislation passed earlier this year. The Senate is expected to vote on the House-passed bill to extend government funding on Tuesday ahead of 12:01 a.m. Wednesday deadline to avert a shutdown. The bill would keep the government open for another 7 weeks while Congress finishes its annual spending bills. Despite the Republican majority in the Senate, GOP leaders need at least 8 Democrats to vote for any funding measure to overcome procedural obstacles and opposition from at least one Republican Senator, Rand Paul of Kentucky. A shutdown would delay release of key economic indicators, including the monthly employment report scheduled to be released on Friday, and at least temporarily furlough hundreds of thousands of federal workers, while other government employees are forced to work without pay to continue essential services. US Vice President J.D. Vance, after a White House meeting with congressional leadership, said he thought the US government would shut down due to lack of agreement between Republicans and Democrats.
Well, first of all, we have to keep essential services functioning as well as possible if the Democrats shut down the government, and Russ has been tasked with making sure that's possible. We have disagreements about tax policy, but you don't shut that government down. We have disagreements about health care policy, but you don't shut the government down. You don't use your policy disagreements as leverage to not pay our troops, to not have essential services of government actually function. You don't say the fact that you disagree about a particular tax provision is an excuse for shutting down the people's government and all the essential services that come along with it.
Now, protesters in Madagascar held new demonstrations on Tuesday, facing a heavy police presence and tear gas a day after President Andry Rajoelina sacked his government in a bid to quell days of unrest that the UN said has killed 22 people. Inspired by Gen Z protests in Indonesia and Nepal, the youth-led movement has taken aim at ingrained misgovernance fueled by anger over repeated water and power cuts across poor Indian Ocean nation. Rajoelina fired his entire government on Monday, apologized for his ministers' inaction and vowed to find a solution to the country's problems. But it was not enough to put paid to protest, with hundreds turning up Tuesday for a fresh rally in the capital following calls on social media. Police were deployed in and around the city centre. At one roadblock, they fired tear gas to scatter a small crowd that had begun to gather. Let's now take a look at other stories making news around the world. Artisans and youth in Hanoi are reviving the traditional To Hee rice powder figurines used in the Mid-Autumn Festival. The festival celebrates reunion and cultural heritage, while the To Hee figurines bridge the past and present, enriching the festival beyond just mooncakes and lanterns. Colombia's Cali is hosting Biodiversity Week 2025, drawing over 60,000 participants from 17 countries. The event builds on 16th United Nations Biodiversity Conference's legacy and aims to establish Cali as a world capital of biodiversity. Casablanca has hosted a 10-kilometer race with over 10,000 participants from diverse age groups, showcasing the city's growing prominence as a sports hub. Moroccan FIFA Elias won the men's race, while Ethiopian Emibol Lekina claimed the women's title after a close finish. Still to come on this edition of DD India Live. 3 dead as thousands protest against Pakistan government in POK. And Indian para-athlete Yogesh Kathunia wins silver at World Para-Athletics Championships 2025.
This week on Defence Dynamics, from the rails of India's heartland, Agni Prime raises, carrying a nuclear edge on the move. As the nation strengthens its shield with Anant Shastra QR SAM regiments, a new layer of defence takes shape. With the Kaveri D1 engine igniting India's aerospace dreams, the future of power is truly homegrown. This Wednesday at 8 p.m. only on DD India.
Welcome back. You're watching DD India Live. I'm Abhishek Mahajan. Some more story. A suicide bombing killed at least 10 people outside the headquarters of a paramilitary force in Quetta, Balochistan on Tuesday. Officials said that there were at least 31 injured and amongst them 5 were in a critical condition. Paramilitary soldiers were among those killed. Several gunmen stormed the headquarters after the bombing, triggering a gun battle with the paramilitary. Provincial Chief Minister Sarfaraz Bukti said in a televised remark, adding the suicide bomber was driving a pickup truck and security forces killed 4 further attackers. Quetta is the capital of West Balochistan province, which borders Afghanistan and Iran. Pakistan-occupied Kashmir remains on edge as mass protest and a complete shutdown enter their second consecutive day on Tuesday. Demonstrators attempting to march towards Muzaffarabad encountered heavy restrictions, with authorities sealing all major roads and suspending communication networks. In Dudyal, Mirpur, the Action Committee declared that the body of a protester would not be buried until the administration concedes to the demands. Across the region, including Mirpur, Kotli and Muzaffarabad, the Joint Awami Action Committee has mobilized residents in large rallies and demonstrations reflecting an unprecedented unity in the struggle for rights. The protests underscore growing resentment against the government's inaction on committee's demands. Tensions in Muzaffarabad flared further when police reportedly opened fire on a rally, killing 3 protesters and injuring more than 22 others. Now, Afghanistan's internet and mobile telephone services were down nationwide on Tuesday, residents and monitoring services said. In the past, the Taliban have voiced concern about pornography online, with authorities having cut fiber optic links to some provinces in recent weeks as officials cited morality concerns. NetBlocks and International Internet Access Monitoring Organization said the internet was disconnected in phases. As on its website, NetBlocks said that Afghanistan is now in the midst of a total internet blackout as Taliban authorities move to implement morality measures. Back home, the Election Commission of India on Tuesday released the final voter list for the Bihar Assembly elections following the completion of special intensive revision exercise. The updated list reflects all claims and objections received during the special intensive revision process, which involved a detailed review of the draft voters list. The revised list has been made available on the official website of the poll panel. The assembly election in Bihar is due this year. Defence Minister Rajnath Singh highlighted the joint efforts by the Indian Armed Forces during Operation Sindoor while addressing a national seminar in New Delhi on Tuesday. The seminar was organised jointly by Indian Tri-Services. The conclave is themed fostering greater jointness, synergy through shared learning. Defence Minister emphasised on the critical need for the jointness and integration among the forces for national security and operational effectiveness.
अभी हाल ही में हमारी सेनाओं ने ऑपरेशन सिंदूर को अंजाम दिया है। इसके लिए मैं आप सबको और तीनों सर्विसेज के अपने सेना के अधिकारियों और जवानों को मैं बधाई देता हूं। और यह ऑपरेशन इस बात का प्रमाण है, जब हमारी सेनाएं आपस में मिलकर काम करती हैं तो उनकी कंबाइंड स्ट्रेंथ कितनी बढ़ जाती है, यानी बड़ी से बड़ी चुनौती का भी मुकाबला करने में वह सक्षम हो जाती हैं और उस चुनौती पर विजय प्राप्त करती हैं।
India's Civil Aviation Minister Kinjarapu Rammohan Naidu unveiled a 12,000 square metre facility for pilot training program in Gurugram, Haryana on Tuesday. It is expected to train over 5,000 pilots in the next decade, supporting the exponential growth of commercial aviation in the country. Jointly inaugurated by Air India and Airbus, this collaboration marks another milestone for Air India, Tata Group and Airbus, putting India on a course to become a global aviation hub. Addressing the event, the Union Minister said the new facility will give a major boost to the pilot training program in the country.
One simulator roughly costs around 100 crores, so we are witnessing world-class pilot training center here worth over 1,000 crores that we are in. And I believe that this facility will give a major boost to the pilot training in the country, and the numbers also validated. Indian carriers, just like how Capital has also been reiterating, have collectively ordered more than 1,000 aircraft in the past 2 years itself. And the overall outstanding order exceeds 1,700 aircraft. I don't know if any other country has these kind of numbers to boast about, but this is what the capacity of India is going to be in the coming years.
The India's weather agency has issued nationwide rain alerts, including red alert for Kutch, Saurashtra, Mumbai and Pune districts in western India. It has predicted heavy rainfall conditions accompanied by thunderstorms over Andaman and Nicobar Islands, Assam, Meghalaya, Chhattisgarh, coastal Andhra Pradesh, Nagaland, Manipur, Mizoram, Tripura and Odisha on Tuesday. The department has also predicted thunderstorms with lightning in the hilly states of Uttarakhand, Himachal Pradesh and the Union Territory of Jammu and Kashmir. Meanwhile, the national capital is experiencing heavy spells and the weather agency has issued orange alert for the city. The sudden heavy downpour caused waterlogging in several areas, leading to traffic congestion and disruption of festival activities. And in sports, Nepal cricket team will aim to make their historic series victory against West Indies more memorable with an eye to clean sweep them in the third T20 in Sharjah. Nepal created history on Monday, defeating the two-time champions by 90 runs in the second T20I for the first ever series win against a full member nation across formats. Nepal, who are ranked 18th in the world, had never played a T20 series against a full member nation before this week, but have won the three-match series with a game to spare. Nepal had beaten Afghanistan in a T20I in 2014, but Afghanistan were an associate back then. Australia's star all-rounder Glenn Maxwell was on Tuesday ruled out of the three-match T20 series against New Zealand with a fractured wrist. Maxwell was injured after being hit by a Mitchell Owen straight drive while bowling in the nets in Mount Montagney. Sydney Sixers and New South Wales wicketkeeper batter Josh Phillip has been called up as Maxwell's replacement for the series being played from Wednesday at Bay Oval. This is a setback for Australia, who have also lost Josh Inglis to a calf injury in build-up to the series, leading to the selection of Alex Carey. Indian para-athlete Yogesh Kathunia secured the silver medal in men's discus throw F56 event at the World Para-Athletics Championships 2025 at the Jawaharlal Nehru Stadium in New Delhi on Tuesday. Yogesh managed to throw a distance of 42.49 meters in his second attempt, second only to Brazil's Claudine Batista, who threw 45.67 meter in his third throw to take the gold. Greece's Konstantinos Sounis finished third with a distance of 39.97 meters. And the 8th day of Navratri, also known as Mahashtami, is being observed across India with great fervour and festive spirit. Devotees offer prayers and worship at Mahagauri, an incarnation of Adi Shakti symbolizing purity, serenity and tranquility. Devotees throng to the Vaishno Devi temple in Jammu and Kashmir to offer their prayers and seek blessings. And held annually by the Ramakrishna Mission in West Bengal's Kolkata Belur Math's Kumari Puja honors the divine feminine by worshipping a young girl as a living embodiment of goddess Durga, symbolizing purity and strength. Well, that's all we have in this edition of DD India Live. But do let us know your thoughts on the news of the day. For those on the go, you can get all the latest news and updates from India and across the world on DD India mobile app. The app is available on both Android and iOS platforms. Scan the QR code on the screen to download now. And we'll be back with more news as it breaks here on DD India. I'm Abhishek Mahajan. From all of us here in Delhi, thanks for watching DD India Live.